Yo, what is going on, guys? As you all know, it is the second day of Chapter 5 Season 2, and I know a lot of you guys are looking to improve this season. Whether that be getting your first earnings, your best placement, reaching Unreal, or any other milestone on your journey to becoming a pro, I want to help you guys achieve it by sharing with you some of the best strategies that I used to pop off last season, earning twice in solo cash cups, and reaching my highest rank ever. I promise that if you guys effectively implement everything I say here into your gameplay, you will succeed as a competitive player this season, and hopefully this can be the next big step on your journey to becoming pro players. If what I say in this video does help you guys out, please drop a sub so I know that you guys enjoy this style of content, because this is a lot different from the style of video I normally do. Right before we get into it though, I unfortunately have some bad news to share with you guys. The other day, my Twitter account got hacked by some crypto scammers, and they completely changed my account's handle, email, and password, so I literally have zero access to it now. I just made a new account, and since the people who hacked my account changed my account's handle off of that Locksit, I was able to get it back, and so now my new account looks exactly like my old one, just without any of my followers or tweets. This is the account that I'm going to be making my org announcement off of very soon, so I would really appreciate it if you guys could go over there and follow me. And I'm also going to be following a bunch of you guys back who show some love on the new Twitter. Also guys, one last very important announcement. The day that this video drops, I'm going to be hosting a $120 tournament to give you guys some practice going into this season, so make sure to go down to the description and join my Discord server, because it literally could be happening right now as you watch this video. But with all that being said, I want to start off this video talking about an aspect of the game that I didn't really realize the importance of until recently. I'm of course talking about off spawn, and early in this season I decided that I was going to pick a drop spot and stick to it, and that's what I did with the graveyard. This drop spot honestly isn't the best in the game, but since I've had so much experience landing there now, I know exactly how to fight there, how to loot it, what to farm, and I have multiple plans for how to rotate out and continue looting depending on what the zone looks like and what's contested around us. Because of this, me and Mutant only died off spawn 4 times in all 6 rounds we played this FNCS, and even though we had trouble carrying our success into the mid and late game, we almost always left our drop spot with everything we needed to eventually win the game. What I've realized that a lot of people do that is absolutely detrimental to your success in tournaments is either go in without a planned drop spot, or have a drop spot but not have any real in-game experience there. There's only so much you can learn about a drop spot looking at websites like Fortnite.gg, and what will really set you apart from other people landing at your spot is having experience fighting there in tournaments or scrim settings. I'm sure that some of you are similar to me and do have a drop spot that you've been landing for a while, but for the majority of you who aren't, the start of a new season is the perfect time to pick a new drop spot for multiple reasons. The most obvious is that there are new spots on the map that nobody is familiar with, and if you begin learning these spots on day 1 and stick to them, you're going to have an advantage on anyone trying to contest you in tournaments. Another thing that people usually overlook about map changes on a new season is that all the old drop spots around these new areas are also impacted. If you focus on learning one of these spots instead, you might end up getting much less contested because it's not new, and you can also develop new strategies for rotations, looting, and maybe sneaking up on other players that people aren't focusing on because they're too busy worrying about the new POIs. All that talk of finding a new drop spot begs the question though of where should you guys actually practice your off spawn. The first thing I'll say is that landing at your drop spot in ranked is not good enough at all for practice. The quality of the players in ranked is typically a lot lower than that of tournaments, and even if you are at a really high rank and your lobbies are competitive, nobody plays ranked like they would in tournaments. So if you develop your strategy around what works in ranked, you're going to be terribly prepared for tournaments. For example, if you always play ranked and you have a loot route that you get uncontested every game, but you go into a tournament and someone's cutting you off or landing somewhere that you always got uncontested on your loot route, you're going to be terribly prepared for the endgame. With ranked out of the window though, what is the best way to practice your drop spot outside of tournaments? I'm going to break this question down into 2 parts, with one being off spawn fighting and the other being off spawn looting and rotating. To practice fighting off spawn, I recommend getting some of your friends to 1v1 or 2v2 at your drop spot. This works especially well if one of you has a custom code that you can use to get into a game with just you guys, but since most people don't have that, the next best method is just queuing up at the same time into a public match and fighting it out from there. This method works best for smaller split drops that wouldn't typically be contested in public games, but can also work for bigger POIs. You just have to get a bit more lucky with who's landing there. This is my favorite method to improve off-spawn fighting because it allows you to make sure that you're fighting good players every time, and it also allows you to do so many more off-spawn fights in a shorter period of time than playing ranked would. Now, practicing your rotations out of your spot is much more complicated because you can't play ranked because it's unrealistic, and you can't necessarily simulate a tournament with your friends in a custom lobby either, so this is where scrims do come into play. Scrims are the best way to get a full lobby of people who are around your skill level playing like they would in a tournament, but the thing is, no matter how stacked you think your scrim lobby is, it will never be as competitive as an actual tournament. I'm not saying that scrims are bad, but the best way to learn how to play your drop spot is in an actual tournament. What a lot of people expect is that they're going to be able to choose a drop spot, master it before they actually play in a tournament, and then never have to learn anything more. But the truth is that it's impossible to perfectly know how to rotate out of your drop spot before you play in a tournament. You guys should be treating every tournament as a learning experience and sticking with your drop spot even if it doesn't work instead of finding a new one. Going back to the topic of scrims really quickly, I'm sure that by now most of you know how and where scrims are run, but really quickly for those of you who don't, if you're on NA, you're going to want to join the Vital Scrims Discord server, and if you're on EU, you're going to want to join the Noble Scrim server. These are the two largest servers on their respective regions, and I'll link them down in the description for those of you who aren't in them yet. I do have to say though that my tournament I'm going to be hosting in my server today is also going to be a really good opportunity for you guys to practice the strategies I'm telling you in this video, so make sure to join my server, which will also be in the description, so that you guys can play in that and possibly make some earnings. The next topic that I want to talk to you guys about is VOD reviewing. I know that every single guide you guys click on has probably told you that VOD reviewing is the most important part of the game, or that it's the key to success, but what many people don't know is what the pros actually do when they're VOD reviewing to actively improve their game. What I'm going to tell you guys right now is the best way to VOD review your game just like the pros do. The first common mistake that I see most people make when they're VOD reviewing is only watching the replay from their perspective. When you only watch your perspective, you're not really gaining anything from the VOD other than just refreshing your mind on the lessons you already learned while playing. Like if you're watching one of your games from a tournament and you're in endgame and end up dying because another team built up onto your layer and sprayed your wall, you might say, oh, we need to be more aware of what's happening around us, and there's nothing wrong with doing this, but you're not really learning anything beyond the surface level of, we got sprayed so we need to be more aware. What I would recommend doing when VOD reviewing a situation like that is watching the perspective of the team that killed you for about a minute up until they actually do. When you do that, you can see so many more factors that led up to the team that killed you making that play, and by analyzing those factors, you can gain a much more nuanced understanding of how Fortnite endgames work, which will give you knowledge that you can apply to more situations outside of just the one that led to your death. This strategy shouldn't only be used for endgames though, and in fact, I would recommend that you guys use it when VOD reviewing any part of your game. Basically, I would recommend going through the process I described on any team that had a significant impact on your game. An example for the mid game could be that maybe a team snuck up on you and beamed you, so you would watch their perspective and go back 1 minute or maybe even more and figure out how they managed to see you and close the distance between you guys without you noticing. Going through every single game of a tournament VOD reviewing like this would probably take forever, but honestly, I think that going through just one game like this will give you more valuable information than going through all 10 of your games like you normally would. If you're looking to be one of the next great IGLs in Fortnite, doing this will improve your game knowledge so much so quickly, and I honestly think that this is a criminally underrated approach to VOD reviewing that not enough people do. The next and last topic that I want to talk to you guys about is your routine. I know that this one is a lot more general, but it really is critical to have a good practice routine if you plan on going pro. I know a ton of people who are super talented at the game, but since they only get on for tournaments and don't consistently practice, they can't play to their full potential. The point of a good practice routine is to allow you guys to get on the game for a little bit each day and keep your mechanics warm even on your off days. Because of this, your routine doesn't really need to be any longer than 30 to 45 minutes each day. And while I know a lot of you guys are busy with things such as school and sports, finding time to fit in that little bit of practice each day is absolutely critical to making progression in your mechanics. With that being said, I want to get into the specifics of what your routine should be looking like. First of all, you need to be doing some sort of mechanical practice for at least 10 to 15 minutes every day. There are so many good creative maps that give you so much variety on how you can go about doing this practice. If you want to have a more chill solo practice session, you can jump into one of Raiders edit course maps. And on the other end of the spectrum, if you want constant action, you can go into an Infinite Zone Wars map where you're literally always fighting someone. The next part of your warm-up that you guys should all try doing is aim training. The reason that I'm saying you guys should all try this and not 100% do it is because for some people, aim training doesn't actually help them at all, and in some cases, it even makes players aim worse. course. I would recommend that all you guys try it at least once though, because if it does end up helping you, that's something else that you should definitely be implementing into your practice routine and doing every day. The last part of this routine that I recommend that everyone does is to play at least one ranked game every day. I say this because unlike creative, playing ranked allows you to practice fighting against people who are at different skill levels and have different playstyles. If you only play creative during your warm-up, you're going to get used to the playstyle of whoever you're playing against, but the playstyle that you use to beat that player might not work well against someone else. And so if you go into a tournament with only having practiced in creative and you find someone who has a different playstyle than what you're used to, it's going to be a lot harder for you to kill them, and that might end up with you dying in stupid ways. So basically what I'm saying about your practice routine is that it can be very simple. And if you guys can consistently get on every day and play 15 minutes of creative, maybe aim train, and play one ranked game, your guys' gameplay will be so much more consistent on tournament days. So that's all I got for you guys today. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much, and I really hope that you learned something that will help you succeed this season. If you did, make sure to let me know down in the comments, and also don't forget to join my Discord in the description to play in my tournament that's happening in a few hours as I upload this video. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to drop a sub if you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next one.